Welcome back. You're still watching Market Trends right here on ED. Now touch base with P. Rudran, who's MD and CEO of RSL, joining us on the show to talk about RBI's new norms for asset reconstruction and managing bad loans. Thanks very much, Mr. Rudran, for joining in with your perspective. How much of an impact will RBI's new norms have on the sale of bad loans by banks? Has the appetite of asset reconstruction companies gone down due to that? And also, how much cost increase have you seen?
Basically, the impact is that the acquisition of assets in the second quarter after the new guidelines have been announced has come down. That is basically because, according to me, the pricing has to be a little more realistic. In fact, many of the banks which are selling NPAs to ARCs, it is still being done on the pricing at 595 basis, whereas today's norm is at least minimum 1585, where the pricing has to be much more realistic, which is not happening and which has not happened in the second quarter. That is why the sale has come down. And as far as RSL is concerned, in the first quarter we acquired about 780 crores of worth of NPAs, which has come down to little over 300 crores in the second quarter. And as far as the trend is concerned, I am sure this may be because immediately after the announcement of the new guidelines, there is a setback in the sale of assets by the banks to the IRCs, which I am sure in the first, second and third and fourth quarter will get corrected.
Mr. Rudran, are the banks and asset reconstruction companies planning to approach or get back to RBI for some request with change in norms? And also in the meantime, would you also be approaching banks in order to increase the fees they pay you to protect your own profitability?
As far as ARCs are concerned, I am not aware that we are going to approach RBI for changing the norm of 1585, because RBI introduced this scheme for bringing in more discipline and strength to the ARCs, because this in a way helps to improve the business structure in the ARC industry area. And as far as payment of fees is concerned, fees today, management fees between 1.5 to 2%. I don't think increase in fees is a feasible thing, because more it has to do with the realistic assessment of the price rather than the fee structure. Of course, in certain cases, in addition to the management fee, we also ask for recovery fees, particularly in the retail cases, which is an ongoing process which was there earlier also, and this is being continued. It all depends upon the commercial negotiation that we do with the banks. Sometimes we will be able to get a better performance fees, which will improve the price also. If higher performance fee is asked, I think the price also will be slightly higher, where the banks will be able to make their provisioning requirements and other things in a better way.
Have you bought any bad loans from banks this quarter, and how much? Which banks are the biggest sellers as well? If you could highlight that, and which accounts have you bought?
What we purchased this year, this quarter was from, I think partly from State Bank, and I think one or two assets were from, I think Union Bank it was there, and some private sector banks in the south, a few assets were there.
Mr. Rudran, last time we interacted with you, you had indicated that you expect around 80,000 crore sale of bad loans happening in this financial year alone. But after the tighter regulation, do you see that number coming down by any measure? And also, how much of the total bad loan sale ARCs are expected to see going forward?
Yeah, I had anticipated this 80,000 crore sale in the FY15 in the beginning of the year. And I don't think there will be a change in that, because the stock of NPAs in the country as a whole has not come down, and it might go slightly up during this year, so there won't be any reduction. And as far as the introduction of the new regulation is concerned, that has been introduced for making a more disciplined approach in the IRC business, with which I am sure that the price stabilization will come. With that, the sale will increase and there won't be any adverse effect in the market, at least in the coming quarters.
Which sectors then are an area of concentration as far as non-performing assets are concerned? Has the stress reduced for banks, or there's still some time to go for that?
The sectors basically are, one is the major sector is infrastructure, iron and steel, textile, metals and I think minerals. These are the sectors which have affected, and mostly we are not acquiring very large assets, we are acquiring medium and slightly bigger medium accounts. And I wouldn't say that the NPA problem for the banks is not yet over, but going forward with the indications in the macroeconomic conditions and the economic market is concerned, I am sure that maybe in the coming year, second half of coming year onwards, things should look up better.
Mr. Rudran, leave us with some idea about what kind of recoveries or any big accounts you are negotiating big recoveries with. What could be the amount like? How much of recoveries have you seen compared with the last two quarters? And also any accounts you are planning to, or have you written off completely lately?
No, we have recovered almost about 500 crores in the first half year up to today, but our expectations were slightly better. That has not happened, but going forward in the second half year, we expect that we would be able to recover much better than this. As far as one or two single accounts, where I would not like to tell the name of the account, but one or two accounts we have been able to recover much more than what we had expected. As far as write-off is concerned, since we are taking all the assets under our trust account, the write-off guidelines are that if in 8 years if we are not able to recover, our investment has to be written off. So this is an ongoing process, and being the first and largest IRC, we have started our business from 2003 and we have completed 8 years in many cases. So the write-off will be there, but nevertheless I should say that the underlying assets are still valuable. In spite of the write-off, we will be able to recover the money in a couple of years later.
Thanks very much, sir, for joining us and giving us that perspective on how to tackle bad loans and what's the prospect for asset reconstruction companies going forward. Addressing the macro side as well as the money markets, we have Jayesh Mehta, Country Treasurer.